right, now I want to talk to you briefly about the May 24th card in Hammond, Indiana, and also at the same time talk to you about this upcoming card, June 21st at the International Amphitheater here in Chicago. I don't have a complete card to announce to you. I can say that the Chain Gang has been signed. Bob Luce is looking for a suitable opponent, tag team, to meet them. And Carpentier is signed on this card. Those are the only two names that I have verified. But that's Saturday, June 21st at 8:30 at the International Amphitheater. And I do suggest that you make plans now and make them quite affirmatively to attend this card. That's on the 21st. Let's talk now about the 24th just for a second. In Hammond, Indiana, May 24th, Snyder and Martinez versus Comrade Nick and Comrade Boris. We have Mitsu Arakawa against Papo, Angelo Papo. Prince Pullins versus Tokyo Joe. You should like that match. That should be a good one. And Sandy Acosta meets Dirty Don. That's the preliminary match at 8:30, May 24th, next Saturday night. And Hammond Civic Center again hosts another fine one. All right? More about all these a little bit later on. Right now I want to have a couple of words with a very good friend of mine, the man who makes all these cards possible. He's the promoter and general manager of the Chicago Wrestling Club here in Chicago. He also promotes and makes match all over the Midwest and is very instrumental in having most of these wrestlers arrive at contracts in other areas under other promoters. And I'm speaking of our very good friend Bob Luce. Nice to have you back again. And gee, I don't know what to talk to you about. We talked about the Hammond.
Well, I know. Well, let me say this now. Incidentally, since we talked about Mr. Clean, I've been talking to a couple of prominent weightlifting people, and they explained to me that that bench curl is the he does is the most difficult. Right, it's the most difficult thing to do of all the arm.
Well, you know why?
Well, because you got to do it with your arm, and you can't.
Right, and nothing else.
You can't give it that whole
swing.
Right. I just want the fans out there to know this because I've had some letters from people saying, is it really that tough? And I just want you to know that just try it.
You can see how
put something on your bench and try it. Try to do that. That's all I ask you, fans. Yeah. Now, about this Hammond card, Chuck.
Say.
Yes. As you know, Comrade Borislav and Comrade Nikolai are former champions. They now say that they're the international tag team champions, which does not include the world title, of course, but because they are Russians and because they have defeated all opposition, so they tell me, they say now that if they beat Snyder and Louis Martinez, Martinez being the Mexican heavyweight champion, Snyder a former world champion, a former U.S. champion, that they will then claim the world title.
What do you say?
Well, I say this, that I want the fans out there to buy their tickets early. That's what I say, because I predict we're going to have one tremendous card in Hammond with this main event. And let me tell you again, fans, where to get the tickets. C&C Bail Bonds in Hammond at 6011 Calumet Avenue. Go in and see Sam Miller or his good friend, Sam's good friend, I have his name right here. I had to write this down. Pete Kennelly. Pete's got a young boy that's 12 years old, and he's a real fan. And I don't know Pete as well as I know Sam. I've known Sam for now 3 years. The 3 years we've been in Hammond, and I found him to be a wonderful guy and a good man. And just tell Sam that Bob Luce told you to come in and buy the ticket. 6011 Calumet Avenue. And one other thing about the amphitheater, the next show at the amphitheater. I'm going to have the Chain Gang there, fans, and I've got a big surprise for you. I've contacted Snyder and Gagne. I've contacted Dick the Bruiser and Mr. Clean. I've contacted Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher, because you see, Bruiser goes both ways, you see. Right. But I have a feeling about this Mr. Clean. I want to tell you, I have a feeling about this man. I don't know. I'm saying right here on television that this, I have a feeling about this man, especially when you come to a guy like the Dillingers, who need to be wiped from the face of the earth, of course, and to get clean in there with the dirt, like they keep making the jive on TV. They're always calling him Mr. Dirt. Well, I think Mr. Dirt, Mr. Clean, would love to get in and clean him up. Wipe him clean, so to speak.
That's good.
And Dick the Bruiser, of course, fans, if you'll notice, his muscle has been torn, went up into his arm because he got clipped in a game in Green Bay. But let me tell you, the other guy got a broken leg out of it, so that's not so bad. But Dick the Bruiser and Mr. Clean, with those forearms going for him against guys like the Chain Gang, I can't see nothing but El Squasho all the way.
two of the biggest men, certainly power guys in that ring.
I think they'll be popping their heads all night, man. You know, can't you just see that, you know?
You're great.
Really? I have a feeling about that, man, Mr. Clay. But I'll see you in Hammond this Saturday night, fans. And this is the
21st now, we look
right.
forward to.
This
right,
is the international tag team elimination bout of all time.
All right, good. Bob, thank you very, very much. Great guy. And a great card, too, for you fans in Hammond. Of course, all of you at the International Amphitheater the last time is May 17th. You remember what a whale of a card you had up there. And so this card on the 21st at the International Amphitheater could very well be as outstanding. Now, listen, don't play down this Mr. Clean Dick the Bruiser thing mentally, because when you put two of the most powerful men in the ring together on the same team, there can be nothing but trouble brewing for the opposite team. All right? Now, I want to take just an opportunity here, if I can, to sort of, as a commentator, as a sports commentator in wrestling, to analyze the wrestling fan here in the Chicago, Hammond, Northern Indiana, South Milwaukee area. I think you have done what so many areas around the nation would like to do, and that is really put together a nucleus of a great, excited fan, a fan who is as loyal to wrestling as Italians are to spaghetti and meatballs and lasagna. I think that you have really set together the success story of wrestling right here in the Chicago area, because the word is getting around all over the nation that Chicago has become the world's great wrestling mecca. It always has been the home of championship wrestling, but it proves it even farther now at the box office. We'll talk more later. More wrestling follows in a moment.
£25 Batman, Jose Quintero. His opponent, a phenomenon in the wrestling world, having won the World Heavyweight Wrestling titles at 5 different times, weighing 230 pounds from Phoenix, Arizona, the great Luce. Let's go to ringside. I can't tell you, I'm like a little kid with a new toy or something. That's a very trite interpretation, an inadequate expression of my feeling and admiration for Luce. This man is a legend in the wrestling world. He was tutored by the great Head Strangler Luce. Strangler found him at the age of 18 and tutored him all the way up to the championship, to 5 different championships. This man has just really one of the most fantastic sports backgrounds that any athlete could ever hope to have, to his credit. And what a tremendous champion he was. On the comeback trail, attempting to get that belt back again. Jose Quintero taken down very quickly. And the speed and agility of the great Luce is something to behold. I met Lou several years ago in a radio show with him, he was interviewed on my radio show. And Ed Strangler Lewis was along with him at that time. And talk about Ed Strangler Lewis, this Lewis was just something to behold too. They had a great feud going between Ed Strangler Lewis and the great Jim Londos, one of the great Greek wrestlers of all time. And Lewis beat Londos about 20 times, I guess. There's an elbow for the Cuban. And Thesz has picked up all the tricks that the Strangler taught him. Thesz filled the Los Angeles Coliseum week after week after week, and fills the arenas wherever he goes today. And the Cuban let him have one in the stomach, didn't even phase Lou. He wrapped the bad man alongside the chops, along that beard. Goes for the bear hug. Thesz is a terrifically strong man. Hammerlock maintained by Quintero. A hair takedown and by the Cuban. And you know something, whether I'm sure that the Cuban, even though he is going to give it his all, attempting to win this bout, that he must hold some admiration or at least respect for the wrestling ability of Luce. Look at the speed of Thesz. And he's got the bad man in a bad man's position. I've noticed that Thesz uses that elbow in that fashion. See, that puts the elbow up against his opponent's head and then uses his own right hand to wrap his left hand and transmitting the force of that blow down through the elbow. And it is legal. Body hug, bear hug by the bad man from Cuba. On the ropes, gouges away at Thesz. Thesz goes with the side headlock. Lets him have one of the chops. Another side headlock. And, thrown up. Thesz overwhelms the Cuban. 2, 3. And that took care of Batman Jose Quintero. The great Lou Thesz adding another victory to his mile-long list of victories in the wrestling game.